The journey of black people in the United States, from chains to change. The story begins long before the United States was even a country. In 1619, the first recorded group of enslaved Africans arrived in the English colony of Virginia, brought against their will across the Atlantic. They were not immigrants, but captives, their languages, cultures, and homelands stripped away in a brutal system that would define the next 2.5 centuries. Through the 1600s and 1700s, millions of Africans were forced into slavery in the American colonies, building the wealth of the nation through labor on plantations, in fields, and in homes. They cultivated tobacco in Virginia, rice in South Carolina, and cotton in the Deep South, their bodies fueling the economic engine of America, even while being denied the most basic human rights. Yet even in bondage, black people resisted. They formed secret communities, preserved African traditions through music and storytelling, and led uprisings, from the Stono Rebellion of 1739 to the many escapes along the Underground Railroad, where conductors like Harriet Tubman risked everything to lead others to freedom. The Civil War, 1861-1865, marked a turning point. Nearly 200,000 black men fought for the Union Army, seeing the war not just as a fight for the Union, but as a battle for their own liberation. The Emancipation Proclamation of 1863 and the 13th Amendment in 1865 legally ended slavery, but freedom brought new struggles. The Reconstruction era, 1865-1877, saw a surge of black political participation. Formerly enslaved men served in Congress, schools were built for black children, and communities began to thrive. But this progress was violently rolled back as white supremacist groups like the Ku Klux Klan rose to power, and Jim Crow laws enforced racial segregation for nearly a century. Through the late 1800s and early 1900s, black Americans built resilience through cultural and intellectual growth. The Harlem Renaissance of the 1920s brought forth writers like Langston Hughes, musicians like Duke Ellington, and a blossoming of black artistry that reshaped American culture. Still, discrimination was entrenched, from redlining in housing to exclusion from many jobs. It wasn't until the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s that the legal walls of segregation began to crumble. Leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, and countless grassroots activists challenged the system through marches, sit-ins, and legal battles, leading to landmark victories like the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. In the decades since, black Americans have continued to shape the nation, excelling in politics, science, sports, and the arts, from Barack Obama's presidency to the cultural influence of hip-hop and black film. Yet systemic racism, economic inequality, and police brutality remain urgent issues, sparking modern movements like Black Lives Matter. The history of black people in the United States is a story of unimaginable suffering and extraordinary triumph, a testament to survival, resistance, and the ongoing fight for equality. It is not a closed chapter, but a living narrative still being written today.